Hello, I'm Matt from World of Ukes and welcome to episode 2 of What's in Store. This is a regular feature, a Q&A where I've asked viewers of the channel and customers of my World of Ukes store to send in questions for me to answer based on my decade of experience in selling ukuleles. I've got 5 questions to answer this time, and if you're watching on YouTube, in the chapters below you can skip ahead to the question that interests you the most, or you can watch the full thing if you're so inclined. If you've got anything you'd like to ask which is ukulele related to World of Ukes or the Uke magazine, which I also produce, please do send them in and I'll feature them on a future episode. The first question comes from Simon Gardner and he asks, what's your philosophy and how do you try and stand out from the competition? I think the way to start answering that is to define who is my competition. There are a number of other small independent uke specialists in the UK, but I don't really consider those as rivals. In many cases we get on very well. If you consider the number of people who play the ukulele in the UK and the small number of people who work for those specialist companies, there's more than enough uke players to support those small number of uke specialist workers. So really my competition, although it sounds quite grand, is the likes of Amazon and the big box music retailers who I call them box shifters, who get stuff from A to B very rapidly, and I certainly think they have their place. You know, if I'm buying, say I was buying an amplifier, I can't do an amplifier any better than a giant retailer. It's in a box and you send it from one place and you send it to somebody else, and a big company can do that really as efficiently as I can, and they can buy them in bigger numbers and get the prices down. So that's you know, I'm not saying that they don't have a purpose, but with ukuleles it's a different matter. How they're set up and inspected really can have an impact on how they're enjoyed by the customer. So that's really the people I want to reach, and I want people to get those ukuleles from me, not just for my own income, which obviously I need some, but really because I like the thought of people getting an instrument and picking it up and thinking, yeah, this is great, it plays nicely, I'm glad I took that advice, I'm glad I watched those reviews and chose this one. So I'm really trying to educate, perhaps the wrong word, trying to get my name out there so that people who play the ukulele will buy stuff from me and hopefully be happy with it and continue their enjoyment of the instrument. As they continue their enjoyment, maybe they'll be back for more. So obviously it's a long view that I'm taking on this, that I want people to get the best beginner ukulele, so they'll get the best intermediate ukulele. But I think that if they're doing that, if they're buying one from me and then buying the next one, that means they're enjoying themselves, and that makes me happy. In terms of competition as well, I don't follow greatly what other uke stores are doing. I think there's a finite number of products that you can sell that are good, and naturally there's some crossover between what I sell and what Southern Ukulele stores sell, that sort of thing. So I try not to obsess about looking at other websites, because you know I'm going to say, oh, I've got this new product, and then discover that yesterday another uke specialist put that on their website. That's just going to happen. That's life. So I try not to get hung up on that. But I do try and go my own way as much as possible. I try and find things which appeal to me, and I hope when I recommend something, then people will know that I really love it. And I think that's all I can do, is be honest, find things which I think are really good value and at all different price levels, and get across that this is what I would play. If I had £200, this is what I would buy, and I want to get that across, and for that recommendation to come from me personally. The next question comes from Ian Jenkins, and he asks, how do you decide which ukes to stock? I think for me a key point is always value for money, and that can be whether it's an £80 ukulele or an £800 ukulele. I think although the £800 ukulele is going to be better than the £80 one, there's definitely a value for money equation in there too. For example, an £800 ukulele I think could sound like something that should be £500, and an £80 ukulele could sound as good as something that's £150. So yes, one is better than the other, but one is better value than the other. So I'm always looking for something that sounds better than it should do for the price. A good example of that would be at the lower end of the market, the Kai ukulele range. Such good value, they sound better than they should do. This one here behind me, it's about 90 quid, and it sounds as good as anything that's 130, 140, 150 to me. So that's a big plus point. And Miller ukuleles, a little further up the scale, they can be £500-600, but I think they sound as good as things that are £700-800-900. So I'm always looking for that value, and the ukuleles that I stock that I rave most about are the ones which hit that sweet spot between being excellent but also much better than they should be for the money. So I'm always looking for value. I also look at ease of supply. 10 years ago I was selling a lot of Carla instruments, and just recently I think Carla have been perhaps fulfilling their supply of the US market, and they've done really well there, and so not as much has been filtering through to the UK. So it's difficult to then get really excited and promote something which you can't get hold of. So you have to look at can I get it? If I think this is great, am I going to spend hours making videos of it and find that that's the only one I can ever get? So you have to sort of check that you can still get them coming through. And also looking at who else is doing it, and how much they're doing it for. There are some brands which I like, which it's just simply not worth stocking because, they're supplied directly to it. Amazon, for example, and they're going to push that price down until it's just no longer viable to sell it. Because everything goes through my workshop here, you can't just send a box from A to B, so you've got to keep some money back for the time you spend on each instrument. So there's got to be a margin, otherwise it's just not viable. And also the other ukulele specialists, I've concentrated on, at the higher end, on the best stuff that you can get from Asia, and that's just a personal choice. That's where I've got a personal interest in the instruments from that region. But there are great ukuleles from Hawaii. I haven't gone down that route purely because Southern Ukulele Store do so well with their K-brand ukuleles. And I did have a dabble with Ukulele at one point. Yes, they're great instruments, but I started to ask myself the question: if I was going to buy a Ukulele, and didn't know anything about these two places, and did some research, where would I buy it from? And I thought I would buy that Ukulele from Southern Ukulele Store. So it's probably not the area where it's best for me to focus on. But I have great links with excellent companies: Uluru, Miller, Kiwaya, Nui Nui in the Far East, which produce fantastic instruments which I can stand behind and get excited about. I think if you were going to buy a Nui Nui, you would buy. Well, I would buy it from me, and I don't just mean because I'm me. So I look at what other people are doing, and make sure that I've got a specialism in that area, and can sell those ukuleles, not on my own, but so I could stand up against the other people who are selling them also. The third question is from Frank Koenig, and he asks me, who are my favourite ukulele players? I would say I'm more a modern player. I listen to relatively modern music at home, and that's the style that I like to play on a ukulele as well. I like melodies, I like things with a folky edge often, and I like instrumentals. I like sad songs. People say you can't play sad music on a ukulele, but I certainly give it my best shot. So the people I like most, the work that they produce the most, certainly, tend to play that sort of music as well. One of my favourites is Tobias Elof. I really love what he does. He's got these beautiful, rich, gentle melodies which really appeal to me, and perhaps a bit more on the folky side. James Hill, he's a really nice guy as well, but I really love his music. And an extra one, I think I'll throw in Taimani Gardner. I went on a tour of the UK with Taimani a few years back, and yeah, just seeing what she could do, how she got an audience going. One particular occasion in Liverpool, a very crammed venue, and she did about 7 encores because nobody wanted to leave, and everyone was having such a good time. So I really admired that, and her skill level is phenomenal. It's not the same as liking the music that they do and respecting the player. Phil Dolman, for example, Andy Eastwood, I've seen them many times, and I can watch them and really love what they do. They really admire their show. It's not my kind of music, but I can watch them and see the skill level and really admire their work. So my favourite players perhaps are the ones that are playing the music I like to listen to more at home. That's just the era that I'm most interested in. So that's the answer to that one. Next up, it's Rebecca Jacobs, who asks, what was my favourite gig? That's in the band I play with, the League of Ukulele Gentlemen, and that would be in 2019, and it was in Graz in Austria at the Austrian Ukulele Festival. They have a wonderful venue there, which is on top of a mountain, like a semi-ruined castle with a retractable roof, just a stunning backdrop to play, and just all around on the top of this mountain you can see the city of Graz and the red roofs of the old city, surrounded by this wall of Styrian mountains. And yeah, we played there as the sun set, and it was just a beautiful place to be, and a beautiful place to play. And so yeah, we enjoyed that obviously. And then following us was James Hill, who I mentioned earlier, and he had so many encores. And one of the things I remember, he said, him and Janelle were playing, and he said, "Can we come back and do a live album?" Because the audience reaction was so positive. So that was a wonderful night. I'd dearly love to go back there again sometime. The last question comes from Colin James, and he asks, do you ever get it wrong when choosing which ukuleles to stock? The answer to that is yes, I do. One thing I love to do is to find new ukuleles from different companies that haven't been in the UK before. That really motivates me to find these exotic and interesting ukes from other countries. A success story would be Miller ukuleles last year. I brought those across from Taiwan, and they've gone down really well. They're such good value, I can't speak highly enough of them. But in that search for new ukes from different suppliers which you haven't seen in the UK before, that means you've got to take a gamble. That Miller gamble worked out well. When I first started World of Ukes several years ago, the first box of ukes that arrived was the Moonbirds from Anui Nui, which hadn't been in the UK before, and again, a real success, and these days they're really regarded as being one of the top brands. So there are success stories, but you are kind of buying blind, really. I don't yet have the ability to fly out to the Shanghai Music Fair, although I'd love to do that one day and investigate these things myself. So recently I was approached by a Chinese company who offered me some samples of instruments, and they looked nice, good specification, and the price seemed good, so I got a couple over, and there's one here. I mean, it's not a bad instrument, don't get me wrong. Sounds very nice, solid cedar on the top, solid zero coating on the back and the sides. But when I got it, I looked at it and thought, I would have to sell this for maybe £450, £500, and there's just too many little niggles that I don't like about it. There's a couple of little tiny pinprick imperfections on the top and the headstock, and there's a little bit of filling on the bridge. The gloss is quite pooled around the fingerboard, and the book matching on the Zero Coty two pieces making up the sides just don't match up at all. Now, if this was £150, I'd be raving about it, and I'd say, look, it's not perfect, but it's a really good quality for the money. But at the money there that would make it viable, it's not quite good enough for me. So I got this and this one and another one I've got have been cleared out, and I'll have to sell them at a small loss. I think whoever gets them will be pleased with the ute that they get for the money, but it's not going to make me any. And so yeah, it does happen that I don't get it right, but you've got to bring these new brands in, you've got to try it, and it doesn't always work. So that's the answer to that one. Thank you very much for watching. Please, if you do have anything at all ukulele related, it can be serious or silly. I do like a bit of silly. So if you do, please let me know, and I'll feature them in a future episode of What's in Store. Thanks a lot.